What is going on, everyone? And welcome back to the Sports Talk on Tap podcast. We're here. You can find daily videos Monday through Friday covering all four major sports leagues, whether it be NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB, games, news, highlights, all that fun stuff, predictions. We're here to talk about it. I'm Jake. That's Nick. And in today's NBA episode, Nick, I'm very excited for this topic because, you talked about it. And I'm curious to see your answer for this. What move, had more impact? Obviously, some of the biggest moves was Paul George to Philadelphia and Sacramento adding DeMar DeRozan recently through the 4th of July weekend to, help bolster this team. So I guess, this was your question, so I'll let you talk mostly about it, but I just want to give my quick thoughts when we kind of get into it and kind of give a brief overview. We obviously know what the 76ers are, a team that's been second round when healthy, on the verge of always making the Eastern Conference Finals, but falling short, whether it be, mostly to the Celtics, but even a couple of years ago to the Atlanta Hawks, Miami Heat. They've just kind of been there, but now they add Paul George to try to make a move to get over that hump. And then this on the West, Sacramento, Nick, 2 years ago, took the league by storm. We're the third seed in the West after trading for Domantas Sabonis midseason beforehand. So that was kind of interesting. And at the end of the day, last year, they kind of decided to run it back, and it was partially due to injuries, but partially, as I like to say in any sport, when you just kind of run it back without adding anyone, you kind of get worse just because, you're just trying to hope the same thing happens again. And it didn't. They even won close to the amount of games they did. But like I said, everyone in the West just got better because they're like, we got to get better than these teams and chase them down. So, they end up being a play-in team, missing the playoffs. But then they go add one of the, best still mid-range guys in this game, DeMar DeRozan, to help this offense. Nick, I'm curious where you go with this. But, what are your initial thoughts? Which one will make more of an impact, or maybe you have a separate answer, which one makes more of an impact, but, which one helps the 76ers become a bigger threat to come out of the East, or does, the Kings coming out and making a deep run in the West?
I think before and after the Paul George move, I think the Sixers ceiling kind of stayed the same. I think they were, before Paul George, I think their ceiling was like the 2 or 3 seed in the East, and I still think the same thing now. Adding Paul George, maybe their numbers will look a little better. They'll maybe score more points or whatever. But I think, if you ask me, the DeMar DeRozan move has more overall impact on the team because, like you said, when the Kings just tried to run it back and do the same thing, it didn't work, and they got way worse. So, adding a guy like DeMar DeRozan, who's he's been to the playoffs, I know he hasn't been to the finals, but he has that veteran leadership experience. He's proven that he can, it's not like he was quote unquote washed after he left Toronto. Like, he had those crazy good years with the Bulls. So,
and the Spurs for a couple.
And the Spurs, yep, and the Spurs. So I think it has much more impact on the Kings also, just because, like we said, the West is like, it's just a dogfight in the West. It's so many different teams, and I think in the East, the Sixers were always going to be there, even without Paul George. I think they were still going to be a top 5 seed. If the Kings didn't add DeMar DeRozan, then I think they would have been very close to what they were this year, and that was a play-in team, like an 8 seed.
Yeah, I think they were the 9th, beat the Warriors, and then lost to the Pelicans.
So I would see them going to that, maybe going up a seed or 2, but I think this puts the Kings, in a potential top 5 seed, like 5 or 4. I don't think they're going to be where the Nuggets or the Timberwolves are, but I think they're going to, be a lot more competitive now that they have a guy like DeRozan.
Okay, so I think we're kind of going our separate ways on this one, and that makes it for good debate. When I look at the 76ers, the East is just way more top heavy. We talked about that before. You have the Celtics, who are still the best team, obviously reigning champs. You have the, Knicks, who made a lot of great moves. But then I really do think Philly slides in right at that third. I think this move to add Paul George at least in the playoffs, in regular season, will help them, eclipse the Cavaliers, the Magics that were ahead of them last year, mainly because Joel Embiid was injured because they were still a top 3 seed without Paul George, really. But yeah, this move, I think Philly becomes the 3rd best team in the East, and I think there's a lot more math on their side to come out of the East and just beat a team like Boston. For it is just harder for Sacramento, just because at the end of the day, the Sixers, there are 2 teams that stand in their way, and if the Knicks and Celtics go up against each other, they have to they eventually that takes one team off, and I just see the biggest question mark with the 76ers is health, especially Paul George and Joel Embiid. But Tyrese Maxey showed he's a baller in the playoffs. And Embiid, even though he was injured, still had a good series against the Sixers, even though they lost. It was finally his breakout playoff series where he showed he can actually play. But even then, still dealing with injuries. So maybe Paul George there will give him time to rest a little bit more, on nights where he wants to rest, and vice versa. Paul George will be able to rest because Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey are really good together. They were 30-8 this season when they were both playing. They're still crazy good together. And just adding someone like Paul George, you still have Kelly Oubre coming back. Those teams are good. They're, I think, a top 3 team in the East. Like I said, they are solidified, though, probably number 3 for me. But at the end of the day, it's a lot easier to overcome 2 teams in a top-heavy East than it is to what I think Sacramento has to deal with. Obviously, I do think Sacramento became a better team adding DeMar, but at the end of the day, the math just can't add up for me. Are they better than the Thunder? No. Are they better than the Timberwolves? No. Are they better than the Nuggets? No. Are they better than someone wants to say, the Mavericks? No. Are they better than maybe the Clippers if Kawhi and Harden are there? I don't know, maybe. But either way, that's probably 6-7 game series. The Pelicans adding Javonte Murray, if Zion's ever healthy and you still have Brandon Ingram there for now, are they better than the Pelicans? That's a huge question mark. And, even teams like the Warriors made some interesting moves, adding Buddy Hield. They're kind of right there back in the playing mix. The Spurs are only going to get better, even though the Spurs won't make the playoffs, I don't think. But they're going to be better. So it's still going to be hard just to rack up regular season wins for this team. And I don't know. It's just something about it. I think they're a good team. I think they're probably the 6th, 7th best team in the West. But even then, you're relying – they would have to go through a run of, being the Thunder, in a round, or, then being the Timberwolves or, the Nuggets to even get to the NBA Finals, where you'd have to face maybe the Celtics, Knicks, or 76ers. So it's just too much for me to believe in this Kings team still. I think they're a good team. They're probably going to win close to 48, 49 games. But, DeMar's still going to be another year older. That's something to keep an eye on. So, his defense is still going to be a question mark, just as the Sacramento Kings, when Keon Ellis got inserted to the starting lineup, did help their defense improve. But, they still have ways to go to improve on that end. But, it's a really good team. I think their offense will now probably move into where it was 2 years ago. They were the greatest offense at the time. It seems like we're eclipsing every year. Last year was Celtics and Pacers past them. But, this team can get back to top 5 form just with how good they can be if De'Aaron Fox can be more consistent. But, I still find it very hard. I really don't even like the Sixers. I think the Sixers are still not a favorite to me coming out of the East, but I still think their odds are way better of coming out of the East. I don't want it to happen, but one injury to Boston could, make this series a lot more interesting. But for the Kings, the path is just way too much, I think, for them to really make an impact on the Western Conference like the Sixers could on the East.
Okay. So I want to do something with you real quick for the Sixers thing. I'm just going to name off, the teams in the East, and you just tell me, yes or no, are the Sixers better than them?
Mm-hmm.
So, Celtics.
No. Nope.
Knicks.
Nope. I think the Knicks are better.
Bucks.
I think the Sixers are better.
I disagree with you on that one. I think that the team we talked about yesterday, a healthy Bucks team, I think is better than the the Sixers.
Could argue it, but I'd say, Sixers, like I said before the Joel Embiid injury, were a top 3 seed. You still have Tyrese Maxey entering age 24, so he hasn't even reached his peak, even though we saw a huge sleep last season. I think he still got more to his game. He had a bucket getter in Paul George. Kelly Oubre was really good for the 76ers last year. Underrated piece. I still like this team. They made some depth moves. I think their roster, Giannis was still the best player in that series, but, there's some concerns I have along with, I think addition by subtraction was letting Tobias Harris walk. I think this team in the playoffs is much more built to beat a team like the Bucks now than say like 2 seasons ago.
Okay. I get where you're coming from. All right, next team. I'm just going to go all the way down. The Sixers are the 7th seed, so past them, there's obviously not going to be better teams. But Cavaliers.
They're better than the Cavs right now.
I agree on that one. Magic.
I'd say this is an interesting one. If you were to tell me regular season-wise that the Magic could be better, I could say yeah. But, still playoffs experience, I'm taking the Sixers in a hypothetical series.
Okay. I understand that. I think you made the point, a few episodes ago how you think the Magic are going to, take a big leap, and I agree.
I think they're going to – that's why I said if you were to ask me who's going to win more games just because we know Joel Embiid and Paul George's injury history, regular season, I would probably honestly maybe lean more towards the Magic. But in the playoff series, if these teams were to match up and however the seeding it would be, I would take the 76ers still.
Okay. And then the 6th seed, the team that was right above the Sixers, the Pacers. Do you think the Pacers are better than this team?
Pacers are an interesting team, but I would ride the 76ers still. Just experience, pending injuries, of course, that could change because one injury to Paul George and you're telling me it's just Tyrese and Joel Embiid, I'd probably take the Pacers. But this team, if they're healthy, I would say are better than the Pacers, yeah.
Okay. I think that would be a really interesting, playoff matchup as well. I think, Pacers and Sixers would match up good. Bucks would.
I want to do the same thing for you with the Kings, teams above them in the West. How much better are they going to be than these teams, or are they not? Because for me, we had about I only had 2.5. If you include the Magic's regular season, I think. There's only but only really 2 solidified teams better than the Kings or better than the 76ers. I think entering, the season without injuries, but injuries obviously change everything. First team, Thunder.
No, I think the Thunder. If we're talking, when we're doing this, better than, are we talking, playoff series or just regular season wise?
I want to go playoff series because at the end of the day, that's what's,
right. That's what matters.
That's how far you're going to go. That's as far as you're going to go.
Okay. So I would say probably no for the Thunder.
All right. Nuggets.
No, I think the Nuggets would beat them in 5 games.
Timberwolves.
Nope. I think it would be 6-game series. Timberwolves would just kind of get lazy.
Yeah. And next team, Clippers.
Clippers, see, that's where I start getting interesting because I think this team could beat the Clippers in a playoff series. That's just the history of the Clippers more so than how the teams match up. Just the Clippers are known for choking in the playoffs. So you know what? I'm gonna go out and say yes. I think this team beats the Clippers.
That's not crazy. Kawhi probably won't be playing in that series.
Right, exactly. And then Harden, if it goes to Game 7, Harden's might as well be on the bench.
Dallas, the reigning Western Conference champs.
This is another team that I can't remember if I stated this before. This team reminds me of what I said about the Edmonton Oilers, and that's that I don't think they're going to be back in the finals. I think we talked about
I don't think they're going to be back in the finals either, but to say
this I think would be a good series, but I would pick Dallas because they have
okay. It could be, yeah. I don't think Dallas will be back either, but I don't know. You got to show the Western Conference champs some respect.
Yeah.
Next team, the 6th seed from last season,
The
Phoenix
Suns.
Suns.
That would be, I think, a fun matchup to watch, but
It'd be offense versus offense.
I'm taking the Kings. I'm taking the Kings.
That's
Are the Kings my team from the West? Am I going to be riding the Kings? I think I have to after this video.
I know a couple people that like the Kings. Next team, 7th seed from last season, Los Angeles Lakers.
This one's tough for me because obviously, they're the 7th seed and they weren't that good, but I feel like LeBron would kind of just take over that series. So I might pick the Lakers just because of LeBron.
Yeah, LeBron.
That's kind of like that is
although Sabonis against AD, Sabonis is AD's father, so who really knows?
But yeah.
But I would still, you got LeBron, you got AD, you got the refs on their side, you got D'Lo,
right.
You got Austin Reeves, or mainly actually D'Lo's kind of a negative in the playoffs.
I mean,
so you
Bronny lob to LeBron every play is going to be tough.
They still have a lot of depth. And then some other teams, the Pelicans now, and Devontae Murray beat Brandon Ingram, Zion.
I think the Kings are still better than them. You have to factor in Zion playing, 30 games and then not playing in the playoffs. And
yeah, you do.
I know Brandon Ingram's, pretty good, and that is a big pickup they got, but I still pick the Kings.
Warriors.
That's another outlier one where it's like the Kings might have a better team, but they got Steph Curry. So it's tough to,
the Warriors made some interesting moves, adding players like Buddy Hield, Kyle Anderson, who, I've talked about, really good defender. If he can get back to that offense, that's a huge plus. So, they made some interesting moves.
I think the Warriors are going to be way better this year. I don't think they're going to be the 10 seed. I think they're going to move up a few spots. I know losing Clay kind of hurt, but I don't think they're going to be a top 5.
Another discussion, because I don't really know how much higher they can move up. Because another team that I'm going to give a shout out to, Kings. I think a team that could, surpass the Warriors, not the Kings. Rockets. Rockets are a team that's coming up. Valprin Sengun's healthy now. That series could be an interesting one. You got Sengun, Sabonis. You got Jalen Green, who took a huge leap the second half of last season. I would still take the Kings, but the Rockets are a sleeper team to watch out to come into the play next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were well coached. They got super hot at the end of the year last year. Everyone thought they were going to sneak in over the Warriors.
Yeah, that alone, I could see what you mean because I do like DeMar as a player. But that alone, the West, I think we had like 6 teams over the Kings that we take in a playoff series. So it is kind of tough numbers-wise. But even though, Boston may be the best team out of all of them, it's easier to knock down one Goliath than going through like 6 Goliaths or whatever tier below that is. Because they're all monsters. It's a dogfight in the West. Because I would say, it's easier for the 70. I would even say it's easier for a team like the 76ers to make it to the finals over a team like the Mavericks again. Just because the path would be so grueling. Again, it's such a dogfight.
The East is,
and you saw how worn out Dallas looked in that finals and how tired Luka looked, mainly because Luka might be out of shape, but also, just that fight it is to get there. But overall, credit these two teams making bold moves. The Kings weren't satisfied, getting worse over the last from going from the 3 seed to missing the playoffs. So, they were trying to make a move to get better. I respect that. I think both moves will obviously be really good. But which one? Let us know in the comments what you guys think. Which one will have a more impact on the league and just the conferences in general? How does it shake up? Because I'm curious, both of us are, to get your thoughts on that. But as always, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. It's the off season now, so we're kind of, just going to be talking about different topics throughout each day, but we're going to be here every day of the week with more stuff. But free agency and the draft are mainly over, pending some small moves or trades. So these rosters are set to compete, really, and we'll be excited. Summer League's already underway. Might talk about that in a couple of days or so. So it's exciting times. But as always, make sure to like, subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content, and we'll catch you next one. Peace.